me showing that the 500 kills, just as like proof, that I've done it. As you can see, everything here is 500 and above. And I use the FAMAS and the AUG a fair bit. Not because I think they're like particularly good, I just think that it's fun to use. Carbines, PDWs, man, the Honey Badger was tough. That was tough as hell, not gonna lie. Honey Badger was pretty hard to use. Good up close, but whew. SMGs were all very easy to use. The worst one was the PP2000. The rest were really good, no trouble. Light support guns. These are actually pretty good. The worst part is having to play support, which isn't as good as medic. It was still alright. It was definitely fine, but it was harder. LMGs, dude, the Ultimax 100 was a pain in the ass. It was the last gun I did. It sucked so bad. Marksman rifles, Mark 20 was really crap. Not a big fan of Mark 20. I've been getting better with it recently, but it's one of those things where you got to play really good to get anything good out of it. And yeah, there we go. With the snipers, I don't have 500 with all of them. I just with the L96, and I nearly do with the SV98. But I know all the things with them because I used them a bunch in the play tests, and I decided not to do it this time just because I don't really like sniping that much. I'm just not a huge fan. But yeah. Anyways, onto the video. Yeah. So this is my 500 kills with every gun video, and here's the things I learned. I'm going to start going pretty quick. Here's some big things. One thing is we're going to start with the settings. In your video settings, scroll all the way down to rendering, then go shader quality and chuck that on high. This is if your PC can run it. I really think it will be able to. It's pretty low chances you won't be able to. And that will add these like lines that you can see here. You should be able to see them in the video. These like shading lines, and these are really good for when you're in a building that doesn't have many wall textures. It's really hard to tell the depth perception of like the room you're in if there's like a corner or whatever. These lines instantly make it obvious exactly where all the walls are. It's just really good for depth perception. Another thing is you might want to bind drag to 3 as well, which is the bandage key, so you can drag and bandage at the same time. Or alternatively, this is what I actually ended up doing. I think it's in, I don't know, it will be in controls. Yeah, I actually just do toggle dragging. That's what I do. I don't really do the whole F to bandage thing. I don't really like that. I just like doing toggle. And this means that when I go to drag someone, I just tap F, and then I can hold 3 and do whatever I want without having to hold F. It's pretty good. Other stuff that's really good is your reload style. I've done mine on 2 tap to drop, and when you drop, you reload really fast, of course. Like, look how fast this is. Bam, that's pretty quick. But then if I do the normal one, it's a bit slower, you know what I mean? Some guns that's like really big, and some guns it doesn't matter as much. Another tip, which you saw me just do, is when you do drop the mag, you can hold F and pick up the mag whilst you're reloading. And look at that, I've picked it up just by the time. You know what I mean? Like that is, I've just done a fast reload without actually losing the mag. So in any situation where you're doing a fast reload and you're not moving, like let's say this is an actual enemy. This guy let's say the guy at 52 is an actual enemy. And I'm like, shooting, I'm like, oh shit, I'm out of ammo, but I didn't kill him. I go bam, bang, and now I'm back in action. You know what I mean? That quick. And I keep my mag. Which is a huge thing. I do that all the time. I'm trying to think of more stuff you could do real quick. Let me think. There's definitely some more things. Scroll all the way down in your keybinds and go to user interface, squad leader menu. By default is O. I keep that just because why not? I put this on a mouse button. This is the squad leader menu. It's, you can't do it in the shooting range. Damn. Well, if you are in an actual match and you hold, if you tap O, it'll bring up a menu which allows you to build. Honestly, I'm going to get some footage for that later and try to put it in here. But yeah, you'll be able to build, which is super good. Alrighty, after that, we also have vaulting. I put vault on a different button to jump. I think this is a huge deal. I really do think this is big. Well, let me find it. So I have vault on my mouse button and jump on space. I do this because it's literally just so much easier when, let's say I'm like, oh, I want to get on top of this thing. I can do that instead of being like, oh, I want to get on top of this, and then like doing a vault. Like, it's hard to explain, but like instead of like doing that and going over the top. It's a very, very handy, like let's say I'm like doing this, I'm like, oh, I want to jump on top of this. You know, it's so much easier when I don't have the vault key held down. Another thing is, when you're jumping from building to building, this is what I used to do, because I didn't know, but I used to spam space like that. If I thought I was going to not make it, let's say that was like a bit further. Let's just say like, I want to jump from here to that roof. I used to spam space. Like I'll like pretend I'm doing it, you'll like hear it. I used to do that a bunch. Found out the other day, you can literally just hold the vault key. So I'm just going to hold my mouse button down, you'll hear me not spam. Boom, you can literally just hold the button down. If I keep holding it here, you can also just jump around and vault on stuff. Let me just find something I can actually vault on. Which is pretty cool. You can also vault on corners, any corner, which is super weird. I don't quite know why you can do that. I actually have not used this in combat, just because I've not like consciously tried to add this to my game, but yeah, I mean, you can do that if you want to. You can just vault around corners, which is super whack, but I don't mind it. Cool, and those are like the quick fire like settings you can change, and I think that that'll be a good way to start the video. That's stuff that you can just open your game now, literally just open it, go into your settings and do all those things, and you will be doing way better. Oh, I do this all the time, where I sit on Windows and do this. That's something you can't do if Vault is the same key, or not as easily, because you might vault out the window like that. But yeah, that's like something, that's some real basic stuff. I think that stuff's really good to get out of the way. I know every YouTuber has done that, even the ones that don't have 500 kills on every gun, but I think that's just a really good starting point. Alrighty, I'm just going to have some gameplay going in the background whilst I say some stuff, because I think that there's some other things that I learned getting 500 kills with every gun. And that is that you know how there's a lot of players going around with the Chris Vector because they're trying to get kills and stuff. Honestly, you can get a high kill game with pretty much any gun. I think that there are guns that are going to be harder, and I'll mention those in a minute. But, like, there are guns that are going to be harder, and then there's guns that are going to be easier. And the Chris Vector is going to be easier. But there's a whole bunch of guns which you definitely can, like a super mega achievable, that I think a lot of YouTubers kind of like understate. You know, like, just how, like, alright these guns are. And, anyways, what I'm trying to say is that you don't have to be using the meta guns to drop high kills. You can get 100 kill games with tons of guns. I'm going to get some footage up of me using the AUG A3, and you go onto, like, most YouTube tier lists of, like, the best players, and I bet the AUG's going to be in the lowest tier. I'm making a bet it's either going to be in the lowest tier or the one above from that. Like the second from lowest. Go to like, make sure it's like a good player. The kind of crappy players you don't really understand the game will put it like up high because they did good with it and they don't know the difference. But you can do good with a bad gun. It's all about your gameplay. So really, if you're a new player and you're like, oh, like a YouTuber said I should be using, you know, this gun, but I don't really feel like using that gun. Just use whatever gun you want. You will do better with your weapon. I'll also be putting also in my commentary that I'm going to be doing, I'm going to put in some tips on how to squeeze the most kills out of the gun, because a lot of people aren't using the wrong gun, they're just using their gun wrong. You know what I mean? Like you might be like, well, I want to use the friggin', I don't know, I want to use the FAMAS. The FAMAS also generally is considered pretty trash. Let's say when you want to use the FAMAS, and you're using it and all the YouTubers say it's bad, and then you start using it and you're playing bad and you go, oh man, I guess the gun is bad. But in reality, you can shred with the FAMAS. You know what, fuck it, I'm gonna use it. I'll check some gameplay of the FAMAS as well as the AUG, because I think that'd be good. But anyways, I'm gonna really quickly say some guns that I do recommend steering clear from. I do recommend that even as a new player, I think there's only a few guns which I wouldn't use. because I feel like even as a new player you'd have a hard time. Those guns are the ACR. I feel the ACR would be tough to use as a new player, and tough to like practice anything with because it's not really good at anything. It's kind of like the M4 but with less damage, but it reloads a bit faster. That's what it is really. I think that the devs need to buff its reload speed by a bunch, so then it will be the reload speed gun. And I think the SG550, which is currently the kind of the reload speed gun you use, should nerf its reload speed a bit, but make its recoil even lower. And then those two guns will be separate. But anyways, so I would avoid the ACR. I would avoid the AK-5C, but you're going to have to be pretty high level to get that anyways. And then anything else in the assault rifle class, honestly, I would go for it. The AUG is also tough because it's actually pretty bad, but if you start using it correctly, it can be good, and I'll mention how to do that later. I would avoid both carbines, and I would avoid the Honey Badger. I would also avoid the PP2000. I really think that you should use the MP7, and anytime you go to pick the PP 2000, pick the MP7. That's what I recommend. Just for a bit. Like, I'm not saying it's, of course, as I said earlier, it's not trash, but I think as a new player, you'll have a harder time using it. What else? Avoid the Ultimax, but you've got to be level 100. Oh, honestly, avoid the Mark 20 as well. Do not use the Mark 20. If you're looking to use a DMR, use the M110. If you don't have the M110 unlocked, just use the AK or the M4 instead. And yeah, that's what I would avoid. Snipers, I'm not going to be doing many sniping tips, but I might do a video on that later, because I do snipe a lot. Even though I say I don't want to do it for the video, I do actually snipe a lot. But yeah, those are guns I would avoid. Guns that I really recommend off of the bat, like straight off rip, you've just purchased the game and you don't know what gun to pick. You'll have the AK-74 and the M4 unlocked, and you will have the MP7 and the UMP unlocked. MP7 is one of the best guns in the game, hands down, so that's pretty good. For a new player, the UMP45 is actually really good. It's good practice for some of the foundations of the game. And one of the foundations that I think is good to practice and the UMP will help you with is you should be fully automatic spraying a lot. You should be tap firing as little as possible, because what you need to do when you pick a new gun in this game and you're trying to use it is you need to find the maximum range that you can full auto spray someone, and then only shoot within that range, really. So let's say you're using a UMP and you keep running into fights that are way too far away. Do not tap fire. Do not do that. Instead, unless they're standing still. If they're standing still and not looking, that's a free kill. Like, go for it. But like, you know, if they're standing still and looking at you and shooting back or something, you don't want to risk that they have a gun that's more long range than your gun. Do not tap fire. Literally just duck to cover, jump around and avoid shots, and try to close the gap until you can full auto. Because when you're killing people in this game, you don't want to kill people slowly, because killing people slowly is how you get good players who are like a little bit better than you, let's say their aim's a bit better. They get tagged once in the back, they turn around, if they have better aim than you, they're going to kill you. Even if you shot first and hit first. But if you full auto spray, that's not going to happen. That guy's going to die before he turns around. And that's how I get a load of kills, and that's why people accuse me of aimbotting a bunch, like in the chat. I get that all the time. It's just because I full auto spray and the time to kill is so quick. Try not to tap fire as much as you can. If you can't kill that person, don't shoot at them, because you're giving away your position by shooting, and that guy knows where you are, and you're probably not getting the kill. So try to avoid tap firing. Always try to be within the range of your gun. And I mean that's like a big tip. Always try to stick to the range of your gun. Do not try to shoot out of your range. That's how you die and don't get kills. Yeah, so yeah, UMP45 is super low recoil. That gun will be mad good practice for staying within your range. It'll be really, really, really good practice for staying within your range. Yeah, I'm trying to think of more tips right now. Let me go to the connections tab also do that, so when I'm editing it's easier to see. Another big tip that I have is try to avoid the big clusters of teammates. like avoiding huge clusters of teammates is really, really big. You should really be trying to flank and not be taking those head-on fights. If you're in a big cluster of teammates, you're generally in the middle of the map and there's so many angles to worry about. If you go on a wide flank, and the wider you go, the less stuff you have to worry about, because that's just the less angles you have to worry about. So you kind of go as wide as you can to feel comfortable. At the start, you're going to be going really wide and playing really slow. And that's totally fine. That's actually totally fine, because when you start getting around behind them and you print a bunch of kills, it's going to be like, oh shit, like this is pretty good. So start going really wide, even take it slow, and then make sure you don't shoot until your gun can full auto and kill the dude you're looking at, even if that's closer than you think. And then just full auto spray a bunch of dudes, and you'll get so many kills. And like, try to do it, next to cover. I know it sounds obvious, but you'll probably see in my gameplay that sometimes I have these weird moments where I kind of just have to swing, kill one guy, and unswing. You know what I mean? Like, I can't, kill everybody, but I know that I can get a kill, move to a different bit of cover, shoot, move to a different angle, shoot. But if I was in the open, I would have killed one guy and died. So yeah, always try to be near cover and always try to be flanking, because that's how you print like a bunch of kills. Another thing is, are you having trouble with recoil control? Because there are a few attachments. Not all attachments are born equal, sadly. There's actually a bunch. This is kind of annoying part of the balance of the game. There's actually a bunch of attachments that are useless at the moment. But I'll quickly name the ones that aren't useless. Let me go into the shooting range, and so I can have them up for you so you can see the ones I'm talking about. If you're having trouble with vertical recoil, use the vertical grip. The vertical grip, I know the name, like obviously, but the vertical grip will help you with recoil. I'll show that off now really quick. So let's get again with mad vertical recoil. Oh, you know what? Let's do the Mark 20, that gun I said to avoid, because that gun's a pain in my ass. Mark 20. Vertical recoil 3.3. That is not good. That is not what you want at all. Let's go shoot this thing, and you'll see how much recoil there is. And then I'll shoot it. Oh, by the way, hit tab in the shooting range to no clip. And there's a tutorial here in the shooting range. Really recommend trying the tutorial. It'll teach you some basics. It's pretty good. But anyways, you shoot like this, and that is pretty mad recoil. It's pretty annoying, especially if you got a long range scope. Like right here, I'm trying to get the max out of my gun, but it's too hard to hit. Vertical grip, which lowers it by 0.66, which is actually really big on this gun. And then the tactical, which is the best for vertical recoil in the barrel. So if you're looking for vertical, use the vertical grip and the tactical. These are the two best vertical ones. And sorry about that. Oh jeez. Yeah, let's see how low the vertical is now. Oh, that's mad easy. Now the problem is actually slightly horizontal, which is a bit of a shame, but that's just straight up what's happening. Yeah, it's really low. And so now my range has been extended, right? My gun now can shoot at a further range. And that's why guns feel so much better with different attachments, is because you're literally just going, here's the range in which I can shoot at further. Tap firing is you as the player trying to compensate for your gun's bad range. And it's honestly just better to, instead of trying to compensate, just to straight up position better. At the highest level, players often just control recoil because they find vertical recoil really easy to control, but at low levels, I do not blame you. I still do it. I still don't like high vertical recoil, even though it is pretty low skill to say that. It's just the truth, I'm not a pro. I don't like high vertical recoil. Now, let's say you're having a different problem, right? Let's say you're using the AK-15's pretty mad, mad horizontal recoil. And you're like, oh man, I don't want all this horizontal recoil. You can use the BCM gunfighter and the flash hider. These two are the ones that do horizontal the best. Now let me show you something real quick. Use that because it's epic. And red dot. I'm going to use this gun bare, and then I will use it with the attachments I run in game, just because I think that's a good strat. So this gun has mad horizontal. It's kind of hard to show. Let me think about how I could show this. So I'm going to go like this, and see how it's kind of jumping left and right a bunch. It went to the right there a little bit. Maybe I'll do a slowdown. I'll do a quick slowdown so you can see it jumping to the right, because in my head I saw it jump to the right. And that went left and right, wow. I'll show a slowdown in that too, and it goes left and right really bad. Now let me chuck on the horizontal recoil stuff, and hop in again, and you will see that it's... Oof. It's way less bad. Let me just do this. Awesome. Now, I am saying this right, and I'm using the AK-15 as an example, but this is not actually how I run it in-game. I do not run that. I actually run the SE5 grip, and I think the tactical... I think this is what I run in-game, because I'm actually not very good at vertical recoil. I know that that's like a skill thing, but it's just the truth. I just find myself getting way more kills with a bit less vertical recoil. And if you're a new player and you're looking at these YouTuber guides on like which attachments to use, I highly recommend instead experimenting, but this is what I recommend, is... When I say experiment, I know there's a lot of attachments, so you're like, oh, what do I experiment with? Only use the tactical, the flash hider, and then like a suppressor if that's what you want. And for the grips, only use the vertical, BCM, SE5, and URK. Because those are the only ones you're going to want to use, to be honest. Like anything else is straight up a waste, and I would not be testing. Toward the end, this video kind of went on for a bit and like wasn't very well structured, which is my bad. But I hope this helped with some of the basic stuff, like, you know, like attachment choices, gun choices, quick settings, and all that. And I'm going to be doing more in-game tips when you're actually in the match, how to do the things that I'm saying, like, you know, close the gap to an enemy, do flanks, avoid teammates. I'm going to be doing like an actual like live commentary on like how to do that stuff, because that's really the meat and potatoes of it. But you know, it is a big thing knowing which attachments to use, and I'm sure a lot of players are pretty frustrated not knowing which ones to use. And yeah, so I hope that helped. And yeah, I'm just going to have this footage of the editor I'm gonna talk. Thank you very much for watching. Look out for more like kind of in-depth in-game ones, and I hope this big one is good. This big one's going to be used as like a reference point for future guides, really. So yeah, anyways, keep playing, have tons of fun.